is up, Spartans? Batman here to give you my thoughts on the beta for Halo Infinite. Let's jump in. Now, first up, I'm going to go ahead and say it's not officially a beta. It's been covered, but everyone seems to be calling it that, so we'll be calling it that as well. But the technical term is technical preview. I wasn't among one of the first ones to be invited. However, just before I went on vacation, I ended up getting an invite, and luckily, the family we were staying with had an Xbox, so I was able to play a little bit over the weekend in some downtime. But I didn't get to play very much until I got home yesterday, and then I played quite a bit to try to get some footage so that way we can use for gameplay. But the time that I did spend, I had a blast. This is the first new Halo multiplayer in 6 to 7 years, depending on if you're counting when Halo 5 came out, or if you're counting when Halo 5's beta first came out back in holiday of 2014. So this is the first new multiplayer in a long time. And I'm a huge Halo fan, as most of you can probably guess, being on the channel. But being a longtime fan, I gotta say, I feel like 343 is almost perfected the formula. Almost. So I want to talk about some of the things first that I absolutely loved about it, and then we'll go into some cons and things that I think that needs to be slightly improved. The first thing is the gameplay. Gameplay was great. It didn't have as fast of movement or gameplay as something like Halo 5 has, which is fine with me. I actually prefer a little bit of that slower gameplay where you can kind of strategize and have a second to think. The gunplay was great. It has modern movement like sprinting, slide, and clamber. All those felt great. The graphics were exactly what I wanted them to be for Halo Infinite, and that's mainly because I felt like Halo 4 and even 5's armors just didn't quite pop off the screen the same way like Halo Reach's did. And so it feels like they took Halo Reach's style and imported it into modern day graphics and gave it that classic legacy gameplay back to us with the modern movement, which again is sprint, slide, and clamber. And it was just fantastic. It was just fun. I had a good time. Now, one thing about this particular test, this flight, was that they mostly, and I'll get into this a little bit more, only let you play against bots. So when it first launched, it was one map out of the 3 that was promised. Mostly you played against bots, and except for 2 hours of the whole thing, which I ended up missing out on, but I'll talk about that later. So the very first map was live fire, and you played against bots at I believe it goes Recruit, Marine, ODST, Spartan. So they started us off with the second to last difficulty, the easiest one of the 3 that we were going to be playing over the weekend, on the map live fire. And it was a lot of fun. The map felt great. It was a lot of fun. And then the next time they added more, and then they added recharge and ODST level Spartans of the bots. And those were obviously a little bit more challenging, but it was still a fun time. It was nice to actually kind of see this slow rollout versus everything at once, because it kind of gave you a taste of everything. You could kind of test the waters and get a little bit better as the bots did as well. And so then at the end, when they added Bazaar and the Spartan difficulty bots, that's when things got a lot more fun for me. I like a challenge, and even with the Spartan bots, I felt like I did pretty good overall. I mean, there was a couple games where I didn't do quite as well as I'd like, but it is a new game, so it is what it is. But one thing I actually got to say is that the bots really work. I was a little hesitant on bots. I mean, I haven't played a game with bots like this in a long, long time. And my experience with bots is just they were just too easy. They were just too simple-minded. You didn't have a challenge, and that's what I want in this kind of game, especially if it's be on multiplayer. So bots, fantastic. Love the bots. I'm on board. Next thing is menu music was phenomenal, and I'll be actually doing a different video that will just be the music from the menu. It'll probably be like close to 45 minutes to an hour, and just I could sit there listening to that all day. It was fantastic, and it gives a lot of, it definitely plays off of the original themes in a fresh take, and I love it. Another thing I absolutely loved about this particular beta or flight was the AI. You could actually, for the first time, if you're not aware, in Halo Infinite, you can now have your own AI that you could kind of customize to a certain degree. So they had 4 available at launch, and I'll be doing a separate video to go over those. But each one has a different voice and a different personality. So when you do certain things, they would say a certain quip or something to comment on what was going on around you. I thought it was fun. I thought it was great. You can also choose the color of your AI. effect that might have, at least yet. Who knows? Because I think we'll be playing as our Spartan in some of the post-launch content. maybe alongside Master Chief, and be us teaming up with Master Chief and post content, and maybe we get to use our AI that way, and we get to actually see them in game. You only saw them in the menus, at least for now. One thing I actually love too is the fact that you could customize so much. Now, I didn't see this option, but it showed as custom. Okay, so for controller layout, it's pretty much very similar to what Halo 5 was, with a little bit differences of the default, which I play as. But one thing that I loved is that it actually said custom. So it looks like we're going to be able to custom map our buttons to be whatever we want, which is great. But the other things you could customize that I thought was great was Spartan Chatter. Some people don't like Spartan Chatter that was introduced in Halo 5, where there would just be some voices of like, picked up a sniper, or things of that nature to let you know what's going on around the map if you don't have teammates. If you're playing solo and your teammates don't have a mic, you're still getting informed on what's going on. And you can turn that on or off in this. It is by default, I think, on, and I love it because more information, more power, more control you have over the map. The next thing is colors, team colors. So you are one of two teams, Eagle or Cobra. Now, with the flight, we played completely as Eagle because it was just us versus a team of... So the teams were 4 players versus 4 bots. But you could change the team colors because now that your individual Spartan colors, whether you're orange or you're white or you're purple or whatever color you want to be, that's the armor you're going into multiplayer with. But your outline will be whatever your teammates set their team color to, or your enemy color to, and you can change both of those. And it also changes that color for the radar. So if you have it set to say green and purple, green for teams and purple for enemies, on your radar, if you see purple, it's an enemy. You can also set it up to be a different color for your fire team specifically. So if you're like, hey, so the standard default was blue, red, and green. So blue for teammates, red for enemies, and green for fire team. So you could change that if you want. If you wanted to make it blue for fire team, green for allies. Switching, I tried to mess around with it a little bit. I'm a little old school, but I did try to mess around with it. And I had it set to where I was on red team because all the bots were blue. And so that's throwing me off a little bit at the beginning, where their outline was red, but they were blue, and on the radar they're red. So I was just trying to play around with it. And yeah, I can't have them be any other color but red, because that way I'm so used to it on my radar. So the other thing I want to talk about is weapons. The weapons felt great. I had a great time, practicing and exploring each weapon. They also had basically a shooting range called Academy, and it was a timed thing for 30 seconds, and they had a list of weapons that you could go off of and try to get a high score kind of thing in practice. And they had 3 levels. The first one was basically the bot would just stand there, so you could just practice shooting that. Then the second one was where they'd actually move back and forth, but in a straight line. Third level, and the final level, was they'd actually strafe back and forth. It got progressively more difficult. And then depending on the weapon, like if you had the Bulldog, which is the new shotgun, obviously the bots were a lot closer to you. And then if you were doing sniper, they were a lot further away. So it was really cool. I think it's a great way for people to get better with weapons without having to feel like they're going to risk their KD in the future. And it's just a lot of fun to kind of play with weapons, be like, oh, okay, this is kind of how this works. And sometimes there's little tips that'll pop up on the side if you have your tip setting on, which I think is defaulted. And you're like, oh, I didn't know, the faster you fire the plasma carbine, that it's going to start losing accuracy, things like that. Now that we've talked about all the things that I liked about it, I want to go into a little bit of the things I didn't. So first off, there was big launch issues, which isn't so much about the beta or flight itself of what they're really testing for, but they were having issues with dedicated servers, I believe, and so it didn't even launch for another 5 hours. Now, luckily, I wasn't planning on playing that first day, and I didn't even get to play that first day, but if I had taken the day off in advance just for this and then had to sit around for 5 or 6 hours, I would have definitely been upset, because I've done that before, and where games were having server issues, a la Halo Master Chief Collection. I didn't get to play the multiplayer I wanted to on day one when I was supposed to. So that was kind of a thing, but it didn't really affect me. I know it affected a lot of other people, so that's definitely something. As well as, I guess some people data mined the game and found some leaks for the campaign. So please try to be wary of where you're looking online. I know that Halopedia, I believe it was saying hey, we're locking these articles down so no one can add these spoilers. And I'm not going to be posting any spoilers whatsoever pre-launch, because that's just not okay by me. I want to experience it for the first time as a fan. One thing that I didn't like was, it felt like my sensitivity was a little bit off, and I know that's probably a me thing because I have to tinker a little bit more with the numbers, but I just felt like I didn't have enough time personally, because I was on vacation, to really play around too much. I'd upped it a little bit to kind of make it at least comfortable to play. And I needed to fine tune it, so I don't know if it has to do with me or the game. And I mean, the game is not even in beta, so I'm not really too worried about that. I'm sure it'll be polished up before then if it was that problem. The user interface I found actually be slightly more difficult than I expected it to be. It's beautiful. I really do like the look of it. The main menu, there's the Pelican, and then when you log in, there's your Spartan, and then you can go over to the store or you can go over to the Armor Hall and customize all your stuff. And then there's the Battle Pass and everything like that. At first, I had a little bit of trouble navigating the UI for a moment. And then once I got it, I was like, oh, okay, this is how it is. Overall, I think it's cool. I think that they need to kind of make it a little bit more obvious on how it works. Maybe have a quick tutorial. I don't know. But the other thing I really didn't care for as much was the HUD. The HUD is fine overall. Like, it's definitely usable. If this is what we get at launch, I'm fine with it. But I felt like the radar and the ammo counters were just a little too small in the corners, that your eyes don't really navigate to them. And I understand they're most likely trying to make it to where you have the most screen space available to see your enemies in play. But I feel like they should allow you to customize your HUD, if that's going to be the case, to make your radar a little bit bigger. Also, the radar only weighed, I think, 20 meters, and it didn't feel like it was as effective as it used to be. And then the ammo counters, there's a lot of stuff over there. But I feel like they could make it just a little bit bigger to make it more obvious. Like, this is what weapons I have. I feel like I have to think about, oh, hey, I have a radar. Oh, I have a ammo counter down here. Shields are fine because they're right there in your face at the top of the screen, which is fine. I do like the way the HUD is set up. Outside of that, like, the layout is fine. It's weird to have the score in the middle, bottom middle. I really wish they'd let you just kind of customize your HUD, like, at least based off of what armor set you're using or helmet, like if there's like 4 or 5 to choose from. So a little bit of that. Like I said, it was a lot of fun. I didn't get a chance to play the actual PvP players versus players because I didn't know it was only going to be for 2 hours. They launched it as soon as I was turning in for the night, and then I was like, oh, I'll just play it in the morning. And then I go to play it, and then it's back to just being Spartan level bots, which was fine. I was hoping to get a little bit of that, but I got to experience everything else. The Academy was fun. Like I said, it's definitely a place to practice your shots, and I definitely still need to because the game obviously feels a little bit different than the other Halos. The only thing that sucks now is we don't know when the next flight is. I wish they'd give us at least somewhat of an update, but I understand why they haven't yet. But the beta was fun. The flight, the technical preview, love what we're seeing. 343 is moving in the best direction. It had tried to evolve the game, no pun intended, in Halo 4. And then in Halo 5, they try to evolve it again. And now I don't want to say they're devolving, but they're taking legacy gameplay and modernizing it in a way that still feels good and classic in a way that honors the original games that we all fell in love with. So, great experience. I'm really hopeful that we get more than just 1 or 2 more flights. I think there'll be plenty, but we'll see. If you didn't get a chance to participate in the beta and you would like to, I have a video that I will put in the link below of how to sign up to be a beta tester or a Halo Insider, which gives you an opportunity to be a Halo beta tester if they choose you. It's not a guarantee, but that's the only way at this time. And there's certain things that they utilize to figure it out. I've been a Halo Insider for a long time, and I know that the longevity of your Halo Insider account is part of that. So you want a chance to play it early, sign up. But other than that, and that's all we have today. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching TST Gaming, and until next time, just play.